So we'll really focus on the tropics tomorrow. Speaking of, I want to take you out to the Pacific first, and then we'll talk about the Atlantic. We have a tropical storm in the Atlantic, Gabrielle. It's our 8th named storm this year. We'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. We've got an 80% chance for tropical cyclone formation just off the coast of Mexico over the next 48 hours, so we may have that next named storm in the Pacific. But as we move into the Atlantic, one of the most interesting things about this storm is that it's finally starting to get its act together. It's finally starting to organize, a lot more impressive than what it was 24 hours ago. You can see that spin out in the central portion of the Atlantic, but what you can also see is the lack of cloud cover here. What does that mean? That means that we have some dry air that's trying to wrap around into this storm, and that's going to prevent it from strengthening over the next few days. You can see, again, you see those areas highlighted there in blue, clear skies, dry air. That's not good for hurricane development. So what's happening here? What can we expect as we head into the weekend? Still, I think that we could see this strengthen into a hurricane by the end of this weekend, maybe early next week. Take a look at your tropical tracker here. Where is this thing going? It's going to get closer to the U.S., making that northwestward track, turning up to the north very, very quickly here and then back out to the east. So one of the greatest impact areas that we're going to be watching for here is Bermuda. The U.S. impact will probably be slim to none. Moving on here, let's go ahead and take a look at the path that the National Hurricane Center has lined out for us. Again, 50-mile-per-hour sustained wind speeds here, so it's a very weak tropical storm at the moment. It's moving to the west-northwest at about 15 miles an hour. About average, if not a little bit faster than what we would normally see from a tropical storm. The pressure still sitting over 1,000 millibars, not impressive. That pressure, that central pressure right there, we would like to see that in the 900s for a hurricane or hurricane development. So again, this will continue to track up to the north and west. You're going to see that through the early portion of Saturday. By Sunday, that's whenever we expect that to strengthen to a Category 1 hurricane as it continues to turn up to the north and east. Sunday, Monday, that's whenever we finally see that next hurricane. It's been a while. It's been over 20 days since we saw our last hurricane. So do we have anything else? Oftentimes, whenever the first storm gets going, it's like we flipped a light switch on, and then it's just storm after storm after storm. Pretty unlikely, I'm going to be honest. That conveyor belt of storms looks unlikely here. If you go down to our next potential area of concern, we've got a 0% chance for tropical cyclone formation over the next 2 days and only a 20% chance over the next 7 days. So we're not saying there isn't a chance, we're just saying it's a very low chance for another storm after Gabrielle. Spaghetti plots here, a lot of them now in agreement. Yesterday we had some different opinions on what exactly was going to happen here, but a lot of these models now agree on exactly what's going to happen. We're moving to the northwest again, pivoting up to the north by late this weekend. That's whenever we see it strengthen into a hurricane, Category 1 hurricane here, and then continuing off back into the Atlantic, making that northeast turn as we head into the middle of next week. So again, what is preventing this storm from strengthening into a hurricane, right? You say that's the natural progression, tropical storm, hurricane, Cat 1, Cat 2, so what are we expecting here? Well, honestly, there's a lot of shear in its path right now. So Gabrielle is surrounded by shear, especially on the northern side as it continues to track to the northwest. Again, that high shear highlighted there in blue is not good for hurricane development. You want shear for tornadoes, you don't want shear for hurricanes. So these areas highlighted here in red and pink and purple, that's what we want if we want to see this strengthen into a hurricane. We're not going to see that until at least later on this weekend and early next week. That's whenever we start to see that low shear and that potential for strengthening. Your sea surface temperature is not terribly impressive right now. We did have warmer sea surface temperatures this time last year. And that dry air, that Saharan dust, carrying all of that dry air with it, that's absolutely going to sustain or going to prevent this storm from strengthening. And you can kind of see even that storm carries that dust with it, carries all that dry air as it continues to track up to the north as we head into the end of this weekend. So there you go. There's your tropical outlook for today. Let's actually take a look back at 2024. Where were we this time last year? We were just on the heels of Helene last year. We were just about to see Helene this time last year. We had Isaac after that, Joyce after that, Kirk after that. It was just like one after the other back in 2024. So could we see that this year? It's possible, but we have to move that Saharan dust out of the way first. The average number of named storms for a typical hurricane season is 14, half of those becoming hurricanes, and a little less than half of those to be major hurricanes. We're a bit below average right now. However, HailTrace meteorologists forecasted us to be about average, if not a little bit above, for this season. So we'll see if we can get there. We still have a lot of hurricane season ahead of us. Typically, this is the busiest time of the year for hurricanes. We have not seen that, obviously. But we still have a lot of hurricane season ahead of us. We still have the rest of September and most of October that we could see a lot more storms form. After Gabrielle, which we're watching right now, we'll see Humberto, Imelda, Jerry, Karen to follow, Lorenzo, Melissa, all on the list this year. I highly doubt that we'll get anything past that, but the weather will surprise you.